Thank you very much. Yes, the latest auction from last weekend was an amazing success. In a few numbers, 100% of all the lots that were offered were sold. That means they found a new home. At the same time, the global result was 45 million euros, dollars, francs. That is more than double the starting estimate. But at the same time, I admit that it was an emotional roller coaster. Simply because since the last auctions we've organized in Geneva in May and then later in Hong Kong and New York, a lot of things have happened during the summer and the early autumn. Notably, the federal banks have raised interest rates. The geopolitical tensions around the world have rather increased than decreased. There is no end of the conflict in the Ukraine in sight. The winter is coming, especially here in Europe. Many of the European countries are very concerned about a cold winter, literally. At the same time, the inflation is still high. At the same time, there are excellent results from the US economy, for example. Just before the weekend, the numbers came in. And this is why in the end we had very conflictual messages from the markets in regards to why watches should be very popular, or maybe why watches would be less popular this season. And the positive message and the positive conclusion was that watches are still hugely popular, but at the same time, changes occur very swiftly. Changes in taste, changing in from where the bidding comes from. So I do believe, and I haven't done yet the full analysis, we've had 2,000 registered bidders, which is amazing if you have just over 200 watches. That means 10 times more people who want to buy than property that we can actually offer them. I do believe the relationship is about the same. It's always that we have about 10 times more bidders than watches we can actually sell. And that means that 90% of the bidders will, at the end of the weekend, statistically go home without a watch. But I guess that's the same in sport. Not everybody can win a medal. Not every politician who is up for election will automatically become elected. So you go into this with a good amount of sporty attitude. Yeah. You compete, and sometimes you win and sometimes you don't. What's interesting is that it's a global market. We've had 72 countries participating. 72 countries seems like a number we can very easily handle. 72 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 2. But if you and your viewers are taking a piece of paper, take a pen, and start the list of 72 countries, you will very quickly start Switzerland, Germany, England, France, Sweden, Norway, Finland. Absolutely. Nearly a third of all the successful buyers were new clients. So that is another good question. Now, first of all, I think the watch community worldwide is still growing. Why is that the case? Because we have still today a lot of people who have experienced watches, for example, in the retail arena or in the pre-owned arena. That means they buy maybe online, they might buy from a friend a watch. And I don't think your first purchase is easily an auction purchase. So it's maybe the second or third level of collecting that eventually you go to a market-leading auction house and start being interested for high quality, historical, rare watches. it's quite understandable, if I may say.
Do you find yourself in the position that you are contacted by potential collectors and you have to teach them how to move around?
Yes, we obviously you can make a mistake as a first-time buyer anywhere. You can go into a shop, you can go online, you can go to a market or at an auction house. Preparation is important. To study the watch before you buy it, to try it on before you buy it. And here at Phillips, it is our mission to make sure that everyone is happy with their purchase. Hence, it is inevitable and necessary that there is some dialogue before the auction. Some take the catalog, read, look at the images. It's a start. It's a good start. Some pick up the phone and call one of our specialists and ask them more questions. Some come to one of the previews, and we've had a lovely preview in Scandinavia. So we make these extensive tours around the world, to Asia, to America, to Europe, where we offer collectors the opportunity to visit, try the watch on, look at it, study it with a loupe, have a dialogue with the specialists, so that by the time the auction comes, they are fully aware of how good the watch is, if it's the right watch for them, and eventually also how far they can bid. Absolutely. This is a service, this is our duty towards anyone, the seasoned collector or novice collector. Because simply we obviously love watches. And I don't think there's anyone on the market that loves watches as much as we do here at Phillips. We would like this love to be also available to others. Huge, absolutely huge. I wasn't personally this time in Sweden. So Alex Gottby, the director of the Geneva office, his desk is just down there, the corridor. And he engaged with new clients, with known clients. He also engaged with collectors from other areas, art collectors, jewelry collectors, design collectors. And the interest was massive.
What are your plans for Scandinavia or Sweden for the future?
Well, here's the problem. With 72 countries participating in this auction, and I think the record was even over 80 countries not so long ago, you can imagine that it is physically and also financially not possible to visit every single country every single time before an auction. So we eventually do this season Scandinavia, another season Spain. This season we have been to Los Angeles, to Singapore, to Hong Kong, to London, to Zurich. Are probably being offered close to 2,000 watches every season, just for the Geneva auction, and eventually only offer about 200 watches in the auction, which means that we are, regrettably, quite often kindly refusing watches simply because we believe they may be nice, but not nice enough. The problem there is that the market is extremely educated. The market is extremely picky when it comes to condition, rarity. And therefore, we cannot just take anything and hope that somebody will like it. We pledged 8 years ago when we started this that we will never offer a watch at auction that we, as watch lovers and specialists, would not be proud to own ourselves.
So what do the people who are calling you and say, I have this watch, and you say no, how do they take it normally?
Well, first of all, our no isn't just a no. Our no is mostly a recommendation where we say, here in Geneva at Phillips, we don't think that you will achieve a satisfactory result. But the truth is that elsewhere they may achieve a satisfactory result, because elsewhere the clients may not be as picky. It is, I have to say, it's a little bit our own fault. We decided to offer the very best watches in the world. Well, once you decided that, you have to stick to that rule, and it's regrettable, but
like Mr. Daniel's watches that we saw.
For example, that is part of the very best the world can possibly have.
Do you have the curator's job with other collectors?
Yes, we definitely do that, but not in a formal role. And by formal, I mean, a museum curator is an employee, he gets a salary. We don't do that.
No.
This is part of the many services that Phillips Watch Department can offer. As much as we can offer to help restoring, finding, researching, insurance appraisals, and curating. And curating to me probably doesn't mean that we have a say in terms of what goes into the collection, what goes out. We have an advisory role, meaning we bring recommendations to the attention of collectors and say, you bought these 5 watches because you like this family. Here's the last and 6th one that you've been looking for many years. This is where it comes up. Could be at Phillips, could even be elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's not really a formal job definition. It's a friendly service to the community. I was just attending a panel discussion at the Reluxury show here in Geneva yesterday afternoon. And today there are so many types of auctions that you have, from super traditional to very automated high technology. You have everything. And I believe that all auction houses will probably try and find the perfect formula with time. The perfect formula means what? Certain things that we at Phillips have that maybe others don't have, and that is, first of all, the expertise. Here you have the world's leading watch specialists. And like when you need a lawyer or a doctor, you want the best, most experienced doctor to look after you. At the same time, they would like us to be modern as in technology. That means you need an app on the phone, online bidding facilities, high resolution images, great videos. At the same time, you also want to learn and be educated, which is why we have now a YouTube channel. We do documentaries, videos, editorials, and wherever on the market you are, I think all these ingredients are today necessary. So everybody's trying to move somewhere into that direction where we are at the moment. So first, I believe that there is a fantastic auction future, or future for auctions, because an auction is, simply put, nothing different from a stock market, if you think about it.
Yep.
The stock market, sometimes prices for shares go up, sometimes prices for sugar go down. It is the result of supply and demand. And if you have a share of a company that is worth 1,000 euros, you're not going to sell it for 900. You want 1,000. And on a good day, you even want maybe 1,050. And that happens when people compete against each other. So the system of the auction, as long as it goes back to ancient times, has been a very efficient system. The only difference is that the way auctions were done in the 18th and 19th century, you had to be in the room, there was no catalog, and you would just bid, pay, and physically pick it up. Today, because it is so global, because it is so fast, our world, people want the technology to go with it. So there will be an evolution, there will be change, but the concept of customer service and experience, good advice, transparency, efficiency will not go away. Absolutely, there is a trend. Having said this, it's a trend that we already see for many years. The first trend is a watch has to be meaningful. You say, what do you mean? A meaningful watch is a watch that stands out from the ordinary. I really don't think a collector is satisfied with something average. Now, a George Daniels, of course, is the perfect example. It's not mass-produced, so you have rarity. It's unique. Yeah. It's not cheaply machine-built, but hand-built. The storytelling. I mean, the fact that George Daniels wore this watch for many years, and there's even a video sequence that we found that was shown for the first time at the auction, where he explains his own watch, is fantastic storytelling. The historical relevance. I mean, François Paul Journe says, if George Daniels wasn't a generation before me, I would not have gone down that road and gotten to the point where I am today. He calls him his mentor. Yeah. So this watch obviously ticked every box, but to somebody else it can be an incredible diamond encrusted Rolex. To somebody else it can be a very elegant Cartier. To the next person it can be an extraordinary Longines chronograph. It can be different price points, different periods, different brands, different looks, different materials. Anything can be different, but it has to be meaningful. Second, the condition. You cannot sell average or poor condition watches these days. Very difficult, simply because, and that's, well, again, maybe our fault, we've set the bar so high that when we tell clients, well, we have here one that is kind of not so good. Why? You told us only to focus on the best. And that means it's only a small segment of the market that keeps on growing and growing and growing. The rest is maybe very nice on the flea market, but not for an auction room. And when I speak about condition, it's not just, does it keep time? Does it have scratches? A watchmaker can take care of that. The originality. Have there been pieces on the dial, on the case, in the movement exchanged against non-original pieces? So originality, authenticity, condition is extremely, is very rare. And every year the standard keeps on rising.